The leadership gap in diversity management.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Disrupt HR presentation where we will answer our group thesis. Can Canadian leaders bridge the leadership gap through improvement in diversity management? Before we go further, let's go over some definitions. First of all, leadership gap is how well leaders perform on various leadership skills versus how well we want them to actually perform. The gap is created when said leaders perform under the level we want them to or are expected to perform. Secondly, diversity management is the ability to manage individual employees with different cultural values and lead teams made up of diverse employees. Because there is still a difference between how well we deal with diversity management in Canada and how we want it to be, it is one of the many facets of the leadership gap. Now, let us show you why.
Diversity in the Canadian workplace is the best it's ever been, according to the most recent statistics. The proportion of Canadian women in the labour force and in senior government positions has increased dramatically. The number of people of colour in the labour force and senior management are also steadily increasing. As diversity in the labour force increases, it's important that leaders learn and adapt. They need to be prepared to meet the needs of the changing workforce. Human capital is becoming more and more valuable in a highly automated world. A diverse workforce can be a huge competitive advantage since the Canadian market is also diversifying, and leaders need to effectively manage diverse teams to leverage their employees' talents and the benefits that come from teamwork.
The Canadian Research Chairs Program is failing to close the diversity management leadership gap, so they set a goal to have more women, visible minorities, people with disabilities, and Indigenous Canadians in their organization. The goal was to hire a proportionate number of candidates from the pool of eligible academics in each minority group, as seen in the pie chart on the left. On the right is the current percentages of minorities. It is clear they are failing to meet their goals. University compliance is mixed. UBC and Queen's have met 3 of 4 goals, most have met 2 of 4, and University of Calgary and U Ottawa have met none, while other universities even fail to provide data. Now that the ideal state has been identified, the Canadian Research Chairs Program must change their systems, procedures, and practices. As Dr. Adarand suggests, the federal government should publish equity information about each university and should stop accepting nominations from universities that do not meet their goals, thus punishing institutions who are not making diversity a priority and getting aggressive about it.
In 2019, Deloitte published a study titled The Design of Everyday Men. This examined the poor state of diversity management in the Canadian workplace. They uncovered that 97% of CEO seats, 82% of executive seats, and 72% of board seats are all held by men. This identified the need for better diversity management. In order to set the framework for success, managers must take responsibility for diversity management at the individual level. This involves leading by example, building workplace community, encouraging personal development, and fostering self-acceptance. This report found overall that, in order for an organization as a whole to achieve success, they must offer personalized coaching, build developmental programs, encourage behavioral audit, define themselves through diversity, and capitalize on the human value available to them.
Women make up over half of the Canadian population and 50% of Canada's top 500 companies, yet hold only 19.5% of the board member positions and just 8.5% of the highest paid positions. Women also make up 50% of Canada's federal cabinet, yet only 27% of the House of Commons. Women clearly are still underrepresented both politically and professionally. Women need to hold leadership positions throughout Canada as role models for girls and for other women, and as the positive influence in the high-level decision-making that will finally ensure gender equality while making improvements over diversity management and closing the leadership gap.
So in summary, upon approaching the issue of the leadership gap, we have found the overarching theme here is an increasing workplace diversity. Upon taking a deeper dive, we've discovered that there's a lack of managerial acumen in the workplace, leading to our need identification of increasing that in order to solve that overarching problem there at the top. In order to solve this, once again, we start right at the bottom there. We flipped that pyramid and said, okay, we need to find the need, the issue of diversity management. 2, to set the framework, make sure managers are taking accountability at the individual one-on-one level. And the 3rd, once again, to achieve success, that overall organizational revamp in order to have increased diversity management and acquire top talent.
Thank you goes to our teacher and to all group members. And thank you for viewing our group presentation.